Good day, everyone, and welcome to Learn English with Blaine. And the topic of this video is going to be types of sentences. Types of sentences. And this is an introduction to simple, compound, and complex sentences. So in this video, we are going to study simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences. Now, simple sentences. Simple sentences are sentences with just one clause. Simple sentences are sentences with just one clause. Now, a clause is a group of words with a subject and a verb. A clause is a group of words with a subject and a verb. A clause can be dependent or independent. So remember this, everyone, that a clause can be dependent or independent. And in this video, we are going to talk about both of these, dependent and independent clauses. Now remember that a sentence is an independent clause. A sentence is an independent clause. Now here are 7 examples of simple sentences. So let's read through each of these slowly. The boy ran to school. The boy ran to school. Mike ate a lot of pizza. Mike ate a lot of pizza. The cat played with the dog. The cat played with the dog. My best friend is very nice. My best friend is very nice. Were you late for school? Were you late for school? My boss is here now. My boss is here now. And finally, number 7, the mechanic fixed my car. The mechanic fixed my car. Now, each of these is what we call a simple sentence, or we can call them independent clauses. Independent clauses. Now, let's take a closer look at these. The first thing we're going to know is that we're going to have a subject and a verb. The boy ran. The boy ran. Mike ate. Mike ate. The cat played. The cat played. My best friend is. My best friend is. Were you? Were you? My boss is. My boss is. And finally, number 7, the mechanic fixed. The mechanic fixed. Now, in most cases, we're going to have the subject and then the verb. Except for usually when it comes to questions, we are going to have the verb and then the subject. The verb and then the subject. Now, let's take a look over here. Every sentence must start with a capital letter. So that means that the first letter of each word at the beginning of a sentence is going to be capitalized. Capitalized, 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 and so on. Okay, so the first letter is going to be a capital letter at the beginning of the sentence, and then we're going to end the sentence with punctuation. That punctuation could be a period, or in some countries they call it a full stop, so a period or a full stop. It could be a question mark, if it's a question, or it could be an exclamation mark. So every sentence will end with punctuation. That could be a period, it could be a question mark, or it could be an exclamation mark. And again, every sentence will have a subject and a verb, right? Subject and verbs all the way down. And every sentence must have a complete thought. that means that you don't need to add anything more to the sentence, and the sentence will make sense. Okay, and we're going to talk more about that. So for a clause to be independent, it must have a complete thought. For a clause to be independent, it must have a complete thought. And we'll be talking more about that in a few minutes. Now, though, let's go on and let's talk about compound sentences. So here, we were talking about simple sentences. Now, let's talk about compound sentences. Sentences with two or more independent clauses joined using a comma and a conjunction. Compound sentences. Sentences with two or more independent clauses joined using a comma and a conjunction. So here are 7 examples of compound sentences. So let's read through these. I wore my jacket for it was cold. I wore my jacket for it was cold. I usually eat breakfast and I usually eat lunch. I usually eat breakfast and I usually eat lunch. I do not like apples, nor do I like oranges. I do not like apples, nor do I like oranges. I have been to Mexico, but I've never been to Brazil. I have been to Mexico, but I have never been to Brazil. Would you like tea or would you prefer coffee? Would you like tea or would you prefer coffee? She didn't study long, yet she passed her exam with a good mark. She didn't study long, yet she passed her exam with a good mark. My alarm clock didn't go off, so I missed my bus and I was late for work. My alarm clock didn't go off, so I missed my bus and I was late for work. Okay, so again, these are 7 examples of what we call compound sentences. So let's take a closer look at these. Okay, so number 1, I wore my jacket for it was cold. Now, when it comes to compound sentences, remember that we're going to have an independent clause on this side, an independent clause on this side, separated with a comma and a conjunction. So this word for is what we call a conjunction. Let's go to number 2. I usually eat breakfast. That's an independent clause. I usually eat lunch. I usually eat breakfast. I usually eat lunch. We have a sentence on this side, an independent clause on this side, independent clause on this side, joined together with a comma and a conjunction. Number 3, I do not like apples. I do not like apples. Do I like oranges? Do I like oranges? We have an independent clause here, independent clause here, with a comma and the conjunction nor. Number 4, I have been to Mexico. I have been to Mexico. I have never been to Brazil. I have been to Mexico. I have never been to Brazil. Joined together with a comma and the conjunction but. Number 5, would you like tea? Would you like tea? Would you prefer coffee? Would you like tea? Would you prefer coffee? Here we have an independent clause, comma with the conjunction or. Number 6, she didn't study long. She didn't study long. She passed her exam with a good mark. She didn't study long. She passed her exam with a good mark. Again, here we have an independent clause with a comma and a conjunction. And finally, number 7, Now, in this example, we've got three independent clauses joined together. My alarm clock didn't go off. My alarm clock didn't go off. I missed my bus. I missed my bus. And finally, I was late for work. I was late for work. So here we've got three independent clauses joined using these words so and. Now, you know what? I should put this should be in red because these are also what we call conjunctions. So we've got so and we've got and these are what we call conjunctions. Just go back. Okay, so again, we've got conjunctions, we've got independent clauses joined using these words, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And in this case, we've got and as well. So what about these words? So these words are what we call fanboys. We can use the acronym fanboys to help us remember the 7 coordinating conjunctions. So these words are what we call coordinating conjunctions. And there are 7 of them. So we can use this word fanboys to help us remember for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. For, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. There are only 7 coordinating conjunctions. So when we see one of these words used to join sentences together with a comma, it's what we call a compound sentence. Compound sentence. And again, I do encourage you, if you have any questions about these, remember to leave your questions or your comments in the comment section below the video. Now, let's move along and let's talk about complex sentences. Complex sentences. These are sentences with an independent clause and at least one dependent clause. Now, in this case, we are going to have an independent clause joined to a dependent clause. Independent and dependent clauses joined together. The dependent clause begins with a subordinated conjunction. Now let's review this. Remember that the compound sentences have something called a coordinating conjunction. Complex sentences will have something called a subordinated conjunction. Okay, so let's take a look at 7 of these. These are what we call complex sentences. My boss fired me because I was late. My boss fired me because I was late. Marty never seems to have any money, though he has a good job. Marty never seems to have any money, though he has a good job. You will not pass the exam unless you study hard. You will not pass the exam unless you study hard. The game was canceled due to the rain. The game was canceled due to the rain. You may go to the movie tomorrow night since you behaved so well. Now, one thing I just realized, this should be a capital letter right there. Let's go back. Let's see. I think you should be leaving soon as you seem tired. I think you should be leaving soon as you seem tired. And number 7, I know you will improve your skills provided that you practice. I know that you will improve your skills provided that you practice. So now here we have what we call complex sentences. Complex sentences. Now, let's take a closer look. Now, in these sentences, we are going to have an independent clause. Now, an independent clause will begin with a subject. Now, in each of these sentences, the independent clauses are in black, and these ones form a complete thought. My boss fired me. My boss fired me. Marty never seems to have any money. Marty never seems to have any money. You will not pass the exam. You will not pass the exam. The game was canceled due to the rain. The game was canceled due to the rain. Now, the sentence here is the game was canceled. The game was canceled. Number 5, you may go to the movie tomorrow night. You may go to the movie tomorrow night. I think you should be leaving soon. I think you should be leaving soon. I know you will improve your skills. I know you will improve your skills. Now, let's talk about this again. So with complex sentences, you're going to have an independent clause. And again, these are complete sentences that we see in black. Now, these sentences are going to be joined to a dependent clause. Okay, so let's take a look at these. Now, all of these, the ones in red, are dependent clauses, and they are not complete thoughts. Okay, so here we have number 1, my boss fired me. This is a complete thought. This is an independent clause. But then it's joined together with this dependent clause. Notice that the dependent clauses begin with what we call subordinate conjunctions. Because I was late. Though he has a good job. Though he has a good job. Unless you study hard. Unless you study hard. Due to the rain. Due to the rain. Since you behaved so well. Since you behaved so well. As you seem tired. As you seem tired. Provided that. Provided that. So again, now in each of these examples, we are going to see an independent clause joined with a dependent clause. Independent clauses in black, dependent clauses in red. The ones in black, these can stand alone because they have a complete thought. In other words, this can be alone and be a sentence. This cannot stand alone. This clause needs this clause. This clause does not need this clause. Okay, so again, here we see the 7 examples. Now, one thing I should mention, everyone, notice that when we begin the complex sentence with the independent clause, notice no commas. No commas. Here in these sentences, we have an independent clause and then a dependent clause. Independent, dependent, no commas, right? Now, what we can do though, instead of saying, my boss fired me because I was late, my boss fired me because I was late, what we are going to do instead is we are going to flip them. So we are going to begin with the dependent clause. So instead of saying, my boss fired me because I was late, we can say, because I was so late, my boss fired me. Because I was so late, my boss fired me. So when we begin with the dependent clauses, then we're going to have a comma. As we see in these, you know what, let's read through these. Because I was so late, my boss fired me. Though he has a good job, Marty never seems to have any money. Unless you study hard, you will not pass the exam. Unless you study hard, you will not pass the exam. Due to the rain, the game was cancelled. Due to the rain, the game was cancelled. Since you behave so well, you may go to the movie tomorrow night. Since you behave so well, you may go to the movie tomorrow night. As you seem tired, I think you should be leaving soon. As you seem tired, I think you should be leaving soon. Provided that you practice, I know you will improve your skills. Now, you know what? Let's just put this in red. Because this is also, oh, 1 second, everyone. I'm just going to make sure that we put this in red. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to put that in red 1 moment. There we go. So again, provided that you practice, I know you will improve your skills. So remember, so we can begin with the dependent clause. We can begin with the dependent clause, but when we do, we're going to have a comma, or we can begin with the independent clause, and then there's no comma. If you have any questions about this, make sure you leave a comment or your question in the comment section. Okay, let's do a quick summary of the simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex. Remember that the simple sentence is one clause or one sentence. I eat oatmeal for breakfast. I eat oatmeal for breakfast. This is what we call a simple sentence. Compound sentences, two or more simple sentences joined together using a comma and a coordinating conjunction. I eat oatmeal for breakfast, but my son has eggs and toast. I eat oatmeal for breakfast, comma, but my son has eggs and toast. This is what we call a compound sentence. Remember, we have one sentence on this side, one sentence on this side. Complex sentences. An independent clause joined to a dependent clause. The dependent clause begins with a subordinate conjunction. I eat oatmeal because it is healthy. I eat oatmeal because it is healthy. Or we can say, because it is healthy, I eat oatmeal. So we can say, I eat oatmeal because it is healthy, or because it is healthy, I eat oatmeal. Okay, everyone, so that's a quick summary of simple, compound, and complex. Now, one thing I want to mention, everyone, is that when it comes to the compound sentences, we have the fanboys. When it comes to the complex sentences, we have the subordinate conjunctions. And in another video, I'm going to talk about these words, because, though, unless, do, since, as, and provide that. So in another video, we'll take a closer look at each of these different types of conjunctions. I only meant for this video to be an introduction, and in another video, we will talk in much more detail about these three types of sentences. We'll go into much more detail, and I will talk more about the coordinating conjunctions and the subordinate conjunctions as well. Notice, please see the link to my website for another explanation, quizzes, and exercises. I am going to be adding a lot more exercises and quizzes to my website, so please be patient as I do that. And I want to thank you so much. This was a long video, so thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Leave your comments or questions in the comment section of this video, and I will definitely respond. And again, if you like this video, please remember to share, like, and subscribe. Thank you so much, everyone. I do appreciate each and every one of you, And I will see you soon in the next video, and have yourself a great day.